All right, welcome back, guys. This is, I hope, the last episode where I'm trying to solve this no tachometer issue. I have replaced the igniter, the distributor, the cluster. I've traced all the wiring, and the only place where I'm not getting continuity on the wiring is right here on the coil. When I put my meter on both of these pins to try to see if I get continuity across it, I'm not. So maybe this is the issue. I found a new old stock coil on eBay for actually cheaper than a used one, so we're gonna try that, and fingers crossed, dudes. So I don't know if these were used on other cars, but the part number is UF62. Apparently this is a new old stock coil. We will see what it looks like. Woo! She nice. Look at that. That's a very nice looking coil. Even this potting looks spectacular. Okay, cool. All right, the new coil is in, and I really want the tach to work really, really bad. If this tach doesn't work, I know I've said this before, but like, I don't know what else to do. The distributor's been replaced, the cluster's been replaced. I've traced the harness. This is not like a super complicated car. I think it's gonna work this time. Here goes nothing. Come on, tach. Yeah! Oh my God, that's so awesome. God damn it. There you go. That's what was causing my tach issue the whole time, my coil. So now I have an extra cluster, an extra distributor. It's actually not a total loss because in the original cluster, my trip meter was broken. I couldn't reset it, and I took it apart, and there's some broken plastic. I tried repairing it, but the super glue didn't hold up. So what I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna swap the whole speedometer mechanism into the original cluster. That way I maintain that SI exclusive amber face, and you know, the odometer will be wrong, but on a car this old, who cares anyway? I'm not trying to hide anything. I just kind of want a working trip meter. I like to see what the gas mileage is of the cars I'm getting to make sure I know that they're running correctly. So I think the next part of this video, now that the tach works, which is just awesome, I think I'm gonna try to swap some of the components of these clusters around. So yeah. All right, let's do it. Alright, so now we're going to swap the odometer and speedometer mechanism from the standard cluster to the SI cluster. Before I do that, I want to just go over the differences between these two clusters in case anyone is curious. Now, one way to tell it's an SI cluster is over here. It's going to have that PGM FI little warning light right there. The standard Civics, which are not fuel injected, do not have that. Other than that, it looks pretty much identical. The main difference being the font color is all amber or orange on the SI, and it's white on the standard cluster, which I think looks better. Maybe because I'm just used to Hondas with white clusters like this. I think this looks a little weird, but this is original to the car. This was exclusive to SIs, so we're gonna leave it in there. What I'm going to do is pull the cluster apart, and we're going to pull the speedometers out of both of these and then see if we can swap the faces and the needles. Oh yeah, look at that, the needles are different. So the standard Civic had amber needles and the SI had white needles. The SI also has this little black line in the center of the needle, whereas the standard Civic does not. Strange. It just changed a little bit of things here and there. And it could be my eyes, maybe not, but it looks like the overall gauge face is a touch darker on the SI than it is on the standard model. Before I take these apart, I want to show you one other thing that I thought was really interesting. Now again, this is the standard Civic and this is the SI. Both of them use a flexible circuit board, which I thought was pretty advanced considering this car came out in 1983. I have a component off of the SI cluster, which goes here. I'll put that back in a second here. But ignoring this difference between this guy, there's just a lot of differences that I was just kind of surprised about. I mean, look at this. This is a square hole for something. Here's a round hole, right? And on the standard cluster, which again, everything plugs into fine, this is straight. On the SI, this is angled. Isn't that weird? I mean, like standard cluster, big light bulb. SI cluster, all small ones right here. So they even changed the size of the light bulbs. It's just a little weird. I mean, here's a light bulb right here that doesn't even exist on the standard cluster, unless it's under there. I don't know, it could be. Even the molded plastic base is different. Like, look at this post here. On the SI cluster, it's up here. This whole area right here behind the speedometer, it runs all the way down on the SI cluster. And on the standard cluster, there's another light down here. So this must be the difference. On the SI cluster, they put the light here. On the standard one, they put it there. It's strange to me as a product designer that they didn't even share the plastic base, right? Like the posts are different, the light positions are different, the angle of the connections are different. It's just sort of like, why did they just not use the same part? It's bizarre. Anyway, let's take it apart. Okay. We're done. So what's broken here? This is the little spring mechanism that pushes on the trip reset, which pushes on this, and this black plastic shaft, which moves all these little gears to reset everything, is cracked in there. And I actually disassembled this whole thing and tried super gluing it, and the first time I put it together to try to do it again, it just cracked again. So we're gonna try to swap this whole component out and then just change the face over. Hopefully these needles come off pretty easy. I guess I'll try taking the needle off this one first. Hopefully this is not totally different. It might be though, considering how different everything is. I mean, man, what are all these things? These light diffusers? They don't even exist in this one. Look at that. Bare light bulbs here, diffusers on the standard one. How bizarre. Alright, let's check this part out. What do we got? Uh-oh. The design's totally different. No! That's not what I want. I mean, it's similar. Maybe it'll work. Like, just look at the stamped metal for the trip odometer reset. It's completely different from the standard Civic to the SI. Look at that, even the shape is different. This one does not have a lip. On the standard Civic, there's a lip, and this piece goes underneath the fuel cluster. Even this bottom edge, different. What the fuck? Even this little electrical connector is different. I don't even know what that does. And of course I can't just swap it over because the mounting is different. Well, darn it. Can I salvage any of this to make this work? Because that's super annoying. I don't think I can. Wow. Look at how different that is. That is just incredible. This one has like a star wheel system. This one does too, but it's in a completely different area. See how these little wheels are toward the front of the face? On the SI cluster, they're toward the back. Who knew this would be so different? This is so bizarre. Even if you look at the threads of the speedometer, Looks like there's 3 main threads here and at least 4 or 5 there. On this this guy right here, there's way more teeth. Like, just everything is different. That's crazy. Like, see that versus this? Alright, I know this is not an exciting video, so I apologize. I think this is so strange. Why would they change so little yet so much at the same time? Like, all of this is going to require different tooling, yet it looks almost identical. So, strange. I guess I'll just put it back together and we're going to reuse the SI cluster. Alright, I just spent an hour of my life, which I'm questioning right now, trying to get this to work. And what was so difficult was when I had glued this back together again, the glue kind of made it a little too tight, so the spring did not bring this forward. So what I wound up doing was trying to wind the spring as tightly as possible using itty bitty pair of needle nose, a little hook. And right now, it seems to be working. It's springing back. So, if we are lucky, I can reassemble this thing. This is the trip reset. And it gets held on with 2 itty bitty screws right here. I think this is working. We're gonna just put it back together and hope. Alright, time to reassemble this cluster, get this car back together. It's been far too long. There's a dog hair inside of it. This is so boring, I'm turning this off. Alright, cluster is back in. I'm excited to drive this thing again and dial in a couple other things. I did have an overheating problem last summer, but I think it was the temp sender on the fans, so I need to drive this thing and make sure everything's kosher before we do the road test with that guy over there. So stay tuned, thanks for watching, and I am so freaking excited that I finally got that TACH working again. Alright, cheers.